Power to walk into the gold vaults of the nations, into the secrets of kings, into the Holy of Holies. Power to make multitudes run, squealing in terror at the touch of my little invisible finger.
Hello to all the classic people that are returning. I'm glad you're back. I want to welcome any new visitors. As a technical note, references and citations are listed for each show on the site at classicmovierev.com. Today on the Classic Movie Reviews podcast, we are taking on The Invisible Man, 1933, starring the great Claude Rains in his first speaking role. This film is based on H.G. Wells's The Invisible Man, written in 1897. I believe this is the fourth film we have talked about based on Wells's writing. The film has a decent 7.7 rating on imdb.com. It does slightly better on RottenTomatoes.com with 100% on the tomato meter and 85% audience approval. New York Times film critic Mordaunt Hall said of the film, quote, "The story makes such superb cinematic material that one wonders that Hollywood did not film it sooner. Now that it has been done, it is a remarkable achievement," unquote. In 1933, the year of release, The Invisible Man was placed on the list of the top 10 best films in the New York Times. I don't feel the technical mastery of this film receives as much appreciation as it should. Now a kid with a green sheet and a computer can enact most of the effects. However, at the time this film was made, it was groundbreaking. I'll talk a little bit more about how they did that at the end. Actors.
Right, and I'm a Shakespearean actor.
This movie was directed by James Whale. Whale had already directed Frankenstein in 1931 and would later direct Bride of Frankenstein in 1935. Also from Bride of Frankenstein was the hysterical Una O'Connor as pub owner Jenny, E. Clive as Constable Jaffers, and in a small uncredited role, Dwight Fry as a reporter. Of course, Claude Rains was Dr. Jack Griffin, a.k.a. The Invisible Man. Rains was first covered in The Wolfman, 1941. Gloria Stewart, Old Rose, has the role of Flora Cranley. She was first covered in the John Ford-directed The Prisoner of Shark Island, 1936. The father of Flora and the employer of Dr. Jack was Henry Travers, as Dr. Cranley. Naturally, the voice took me back to Angel Clarence from It's a Wonderful Life, 1946. Holmes Herbert was the chief of police. He was first covered in The Verdict, 1946. Dudley Diggs was the chief detective. We first encountered him in the original The Maltese Falcon, 1931. Harry Stubbs played Inspector Byrd, who was first encountered in The Mummy's Hand, 1940. Two small uncredited parts were handled by Walter Brennan as the bicycle owner, who we first saw in The Buccaneer, 1938, and the wonderful John Carradine as the ink suggester, who was first covered in the horrible Billy the Kid vs. Dracula, 1966. William Harrigan played the sneaky and cowardly Dr. Arthur Kemp. Harrigan was born in 1886 in New York City.
I'm walking here! I'm walking here!
He was mostly a stage actor and was active on Broadway. He is known for a few roles that include Nix on Dames, 1929, The Invisible Man, 1933, G-Men, 1935 with James Cagney, The Farmer's Daughter, 1947, and Flying Leathernecks, 1951. Harrigan died in 1966. Story.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
It is a snowy night in Epping, England. A man completely covered from head to toe and carrying a suitcase arrives at the Lion's Head pub. Inside the pub, they are singing, drinking, and playing darts. You know, all the stuff they were doing at the Slaughtered Lamb and An American Werewolf in London, 1981. When the man comes in, everyone goes silent, just like in The Lamb. The mysterious man's face and head are completely bandaged. The locals back away as the stranger asks for a room and a fire. The stranger is Dr. Jack Griffin, Claude Rains. The bar owner calls his wife, Jenny, Una O'Connor. She looks at the man as if she had just seen Frankenstein. Jenny calls Millie, Meryl Tottenham, to prepare the room. The two ladies take Dr. Jack to his room. Jenny builds a fire and Millie lights the lamp. Dr. Jack asks about his luggage at the station, and Jenny says she will send for it in the morning. Dr. Jack asks for food before closing the drapes. In the pub, the men are speculating that Dr. Jack is some kind of criminal. Jenny brings the food up and Dr. Jack asks for a key and to be left alone. Jenny goes back with the mustard and busts into his room without knocking. Dr. Jack has taken the bandage off the lower half of his face. Jenny sees the jaw is missing. Dr. Jack quickly covers his jaw with a napkin. He gets snotty and says he doesn't want to be disturbed.
I told you not to disturb me.
It's only the mustard, sir. I forgot it. I'm sorry.
Jenny is about to have a stroke. Downstairs, she tells the entire pub that he is completely bandaged to the top of his head. In another part of England, Dr. Cranley, Henry Travers, is working in his laboratory/office. Flora Cranley, Gloria Stewart, who is his daughter, comes in. She is rebuffed by Cranley for disturbing his work. She only wants to know about Dr. Jack, who has been gone for over a month. Dr. Arthur Kemp, William Harrigan, comes in, and they discuss Dr. Jack, who worked for Cranley but also conducted his own experiments. Flora gets upset and runs out. Dr. Jack tries to comfort her. Creeper. He tells that Dr. Jack was meddling in things men should leave alone. He runs Dr. Jack down. Kemp says the work he and Cranley are doing on food preservatives is very important, like Clark Griswold's work. Anyway, Dr. Kemp wants to kiss her, and she reacts badly. Above the pub, Dr. Jack has converted his room into a laboratory. He mumbles that there must be a way back. Jenny brings him some food, and he tries to send her away. She pushes in, and he shoves her out. She drops the tray and runs screaming down the stairs. Jenny tells her husband that she wants Dr. Jack out. Besides being rude, Dr. Jack is behind on the rent. The husband goes up just as Dr. Jack is lamenting that the foolish woman, Jenny, has cost him a week's work. He again says there must be a way back. The owner hands him the bill, and Dr. Jack takes on a pleading turn. The owner begins picking up Dr. Jack's stuff, and the doctor goes crazy, beating the man and throwing him down the stairs. Jenny is crying and screaming while one of the pub men goes to get the police. Constable Jaffers, E.E. Clyde, is told of the two assaults. He enters the pub and draws his billy club. Jaffers goes upstairs, flanked by a mob of pub men. Jaffers tells Dr. Jack that he has committed assault and must be arrested. Dr. Jack becomes indignant and says, all right, if you want to know who I am. He pulls off his fake nose and then his goggles. He takes off the bandages, and they see the missing head. All the time, Dr. Jack is crazy laughing. Jaffers and all the men run downstairs. Jaffers gets right to the heart of the matter, saying that Dr. Jack's problem is that he is invisible, and if he takes his clothes off, they will never catch him.
Well, Jaffers, what do you think?
He's invisible. That's what's the matter with him. If he gets the rest of them clothes off, we'll never catch him in 1,000 years.
Jaffers and some of the pub men go back to Dr. Jack's room. He is just a shirt running around and laughing. They try to catch him and he drops the shirt. He taunts him, saying an invisible man can get away with anything. He shows them the chemical and tells them how to use it. Now that you know my plan, Mr. Bond, I will leave you here to die alone. Jaffers shuts the door so he can't escape. Dr. Jack opens the window and jumps out. When Jaffers goes to the window, Dr. Jack chokes him, having not really jumped out. He punches and pushes the others before heading downstairs, where he knocks over a clock and opens the door. He knocks glasses from the hands of pub men and finally exits the pub. He steals a bike, attacks people, and causes general mayhem. Jaffers calls it in, but they don't believe him at first. Newspapers spread the word of the invisible man. Finally, Cranley and Kemp begin inspecting Dr. Jack's original laboratory. Cranley finds a list of chemicals. On the list is monocaine. He explains that it is produced from a flower that grows in India. The flower sucks the color out of everything it touches. They tried using it to bleach clothes, but it dissolved the clothes. They injected it into a dog and turned the dog white and made the dog go insane.
Monocaine's a terrible drug.
I never heard of it.
You wouldn't, Kemp. It's never used now. I didn't know it was even made. It's a drug that's made from a flower that's grown in India. It draws color from everything it touches. Years ago, they tried it for bleaching cloth. They gave it up because it destroyed the material.
That doesn't sound very terrible.
Yes, I know, but it does something else, Kemp. It was tried out on some poor animal, a dog, I believe. It was injected under the skin, and it turned the dog dead white, like a marble statue.
Isn't that so?
Yes, and it also sent it raving mad.
Cranley says the dog experiment was only in German books and not in English, so Dr. Jack might not have known how bad the stuff is. Cranley swears Kemp to silence. That evening, Kemp is in his den when the garden door opens and closes. The radio talks about the people in Ipping having a mass delusion. Dr. Jack turns off the radio and tells Kemp he is there. When Kemp sees the invisible man moving stuff, he becomes alarmed. Dr. Jack tells Kemp he wants food and he wants to work on his medical problem. He sends Kemp for glasses, clothes, and bandages. Dr. Jack says he will kill Kemp if he doesn't help. Kemp is forced to help. The chief detective, Dudley Diggs, arrives at the pub. He doesn't believe the story is true, but he begins the investigation. Back at Kemp's house, Jack is fully covered. This calms Kemp a bit, and the two men sit to talk. Dr. Jack says he worked on the experiment for 5 years. When he began fading, he left for Ipping. He says he was working on an antidote. Dr. Jack says the drugs have amped up his brain and he wants to set the world right. He says he needs a normal partner.
But there's more to it than that, Kemp. I know now. It came to me suddenly. The drugs I took seemed to light up my brain. Suddenly I realized the power I held. The power to rule, to make the world grovel at my feet. We'll soon put the world right now, Kemp. You and I. You mean I must have a partner, Kemp. A visible partner to help me in the little things. You're my partner, Kemp. We'll begin with a reign of terror. A few murders here and there. Murders of great men, murders of little men, just to show we make no distinction. We might even wreck a train or two.
His plan is to murder a few people and cause general mayhem like wrecking trains. He orders Kemp to go to Ipping to retrieve his notes. Dr. Jack strips off his clothes and gets in the car with Kemp. The chief detective is interviewing everyone that encountered the invisible man. The man that had the bicycle taken from him is a very young and uncredited Walter Brennan. Kemp and Jack stop the car a short distance from the pub. Jack will throw the books out the window to Kemp. Jack opens the door to the pub, and Jenny thinks it's children playing pranks. Jack makes his way to his room and begins tossing books to Kemp. The chief detective pronounces that the entire matter is a hoax. He begins to sign a paper, but the inkwell starts moving. Finally, the ink is thrown onto the officer's face. Jenny screams, "There he is!" Glasses and mugs begin to fly around the room. When everyone else has run outside, the invisible man chokes the chief detective. Before going to the car, he smashes the officer with a stool, killing him. That night, Cranley goes to see Inspector Lane, Donald Stewart, but a newspaper boy comes down the street with a headline saying, "Invisible Man Slays Policeman." Cranley turns back without reporting his former colleague. Back at Kemp's place, Jack explains that undigested food can be seen in him for an hour after he eats. Ugh. He also says that fog, snow, rain, and soot give his form away. Kemp keeps going along for fear of Dr. Jack. Jack gets unbandaged for bed and retires. Chief of Police, Holmes Herbert, organizes a 20-mile search with a search party consisting of 1,000 men. The men begin beating the brush with sticks and looking for tracks. Radio announcements are made calling for more searchers, and the public should lock all doors, windows, and buildings. A 1,000-pound reward is offered for his capture. Finally, Kemp mans up and calls Cranley, telling that Jack is the invisible man. Cranley says he will come in the morning and for Kemp to keep Jack there. Flora comes down and Cranley tells her where and what Jack is. Men call the police with ideas for the capture. One man, an uncredited John Carradine, suggests that they throw ink on him. Kemp calls the police and tells them that the invisible man is in his house. The police say they will need 100 men to surround the house. Flora is determined to go help Jack. Jack comes to the door where Kemp is located. He forces him to unlock the door, then he sends him to bed. On the way upstairs, they see Cranley and Flora walking up the sidewalk. Jack goes to prepare himself while Kemp lets the two inside. Flora goes to see Dr. Jack and is a little shocked by his rapping. He's playing the ladies' man and says he did it all to get the money for her and him.
Why did you do this?
For you, Flora.
For me?
Yes, for you, my darling. I wanted to do something tremendous, to achieve what men of science have dreamt of since the world began, to gain wealth and fame and honor, to write my name above the greatest scientists of all time. I was so pitifully poor. I had nothing to offer you, Flora.
He plans to sell his formula to the highest bidder so they can sweep the world with invisible armies.
The nations of the world will bid for it, thousands, millions. The nation that wins my secret can sweep the world with invisible armies.
Jack rants and trash talks her father, Cranley.
Jack, I want you to let my father help you. You know how clever he is. He'll work with you day and night until you find that second secret, the one that'll bring you back to us.
Your father? Clever? You think he can help me? He's got the brain of a tapeworm, a maggot, beside mine.
She tells him that there are bad side effects from using monocaine. As he rants, he sees police and dogs surrounding the house.
Power to walk into the gold vaults of the nations, into the secrets of kings, into the holy of holies. Power to make multitudes run squealing in terror at the touch of my little invisible finger. Even the moon's frightened of me, frightened to death. The whole world's frightened to death.
He sends Flora away. The police link hands and make a big old ring around the Rosie as they move towards the house. In Kemp's room, the invisible man says he will kill Kemp by 10 p.m. the next night. Jack taunts the police and finally gets through their line. Then a pair of pants and suspenders chase an old woman down the road. Kemp is freaking out that he's going to be killed. The chief of police questions Cranley and Kemp, but they clam up. Kemp tells that the suspect is indeed Dr. Jack. During the day, Dr. Jack attacks one of the search parties. He later knocks out a switch operator and derails a train. He steals a cash drawer at Lloyd's Bank and hands out the money on the street. 20 men from search parties have been killed. A reporter, an uncredited Dwight Fry, asks the chief of police what his plans are. He doesn't tell the reporter, but they clear the room with a net to make sure the invisible man is not there. The plan is to try and catch him near Kemp's house. Brilliant. The chief of police has 20 men with spray paint guns. They have the net, and they have put earth on top of the wall. Dr. Jack was there listening to their plan. They dress Kemp like a cop and try to sneak him out. At 10 p.m., Dr. Jack announces that he is in the car before killing Kemp by running the car off a cliff.
This'll do nicely, Kemp. We'll stop here. It's 10 o'clock. I came with you to keep my promise.
No, it's all a mistake, Griffin. I swear I never told the police. I want to help you. Let me be your partner.
I've had a cold and uncomfortable journey just to keep my promise at 10 o'clock. I went into the police station with you, Kemp. I stood by while you changed into that coat. I rode on the running board of the car that took you home again.
Dr. Jack sleeps in a barn to stay warm. The farmer sees the hay moving and hears Dr. Jack snoring. He goes to the police station and reports that the invisible man is in his barn. A strong snowstorm hits at the same time, covering the ground with powder. The police surround the barn and set the barn on fire. Dr. Jack is forced out by the fire. The police begin advancing. The chief of police sees Dr. Jack's footprints in the snow and shoots him. At a hospital, a doctor reports that he is very near the end. Flora is brought up and Dr. Jack continues to ask for her.
I knew you would come to me, Flora. I wanted to come back to you. My darling, I failed. I meddled in things that man must leave alone.
The doctor says that as he dies, his body will come back. First the skull and then the face of Dr. Jack form. This is the only time Claude Rains' face is shown in the movie. He is dead for meddling in things men should leave alone. I'll be right back with conclusions and the world-famous short summary following a word from our sponsors. Summary. If I were asked who the #1 classic universal horror killer was, I would probably have said Dracula or the Wolfman. It turns out that the top slayer is in fact the Invisible Man. Dr. Jack, it seems, killed 4 people on screen, another 18 in the search party, minus the 2 shown on screen, and derailed a train, killing 100. That brings his total to 122 kills in the film. Suck it, Dracula. As I said earlier, this movie was really groundbreaking considering when it was made. Now most of the effects can be created with a green cloth and some digital keying software. But when no one has done it before, it's pretty impressive. The visual effects were created by John P. Fulton, John J. Mescal, and Frank D. Williams. For a scene when the Invisible Man was naked, they used wires to move objects and make clothes dance. This technique is at least as old as filmmaking. However, when they wanted Dr. Jack to take off his clothes, they came up with something very interesting. They had Claude Rains, or his stunt double, dress in a black velvet outfit, and they shot him against a black velvet background. This is essentially pre-digital green screening. They would then shoot the location and mat the film together. Amazing. For trivia's sake, there is one large error at the end of the film. I missed it. Did you? When Dr. Jack left the barn in the snow, the prints were of shoes instead of bare feet. World famous short summary: why make an actor of Rains' quality be invisible for the entire movie? I hope you enjoyed today's show. You can find connections to social media and email on the site at classicmovierev.com or in the podcast show notes. If you enjoyed the show, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you've already subscribed, you can tell a friend, colleague, or family member about the show, or leave a review at Apple Podcasts. It really helps the show get found. If you want to comment, suggest a movie, or help out, contact me by email at jec@classicmovierev.com. Beware the Moors.